Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Transformation Time. Every Thursday, I host an episode of either Transformation Time or Behind the Scenes. My name is Diana Lizarazo, and today's guest speaker is Anson Darville. And on Transformation Time, our guest speakers are real estate investors, and they're here to help you by sharing their personal development journeys and the mindset shifts that they've gone through to get to where they are now as real estate investors, as entrepreneurs. And if any of you are interested in coming on and sharing your stories on Transformation Time personal development, or any specific projects you'd love to share about how it went, definitely send me a DM and we'll have a chat and we'll definitely schedule you in. So let me see if I can see if Anson's on right now. Oh, I see he joined. I'm gonna go just make a request and get him on. Started doing my Instagram. I don't know, guys, what's going on these days with Instagram. I feel like there we go. We got it.
There we go.
Hey.
How you doing?
How are you?
Good, you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. Good. Thanks for coming on. I'm excited to hear about your story. So let's get started with let's start with telling the viewers a little bit about yourself. What's your real estate portfolio look like? What's your strategy? How long have you been in it? Whatever you'd love to share.
Yeah. So thank you very much for having me on. And a little bit about me is married with 3 kids. We're in St. John, New Brunswick. I was supposed to be sitting in an office for this, but life happens, and we're with real estate, as you know, and had to deal with some things this morning. So currently I have 10 units myself, and I manage just over 50. I have a property management company as well. I just absolutely fell in love with real estate actually back in 2012, 2013, when I was managing franchise development for a national franchisor, and got the bug of doing upfitting and transforming spaces, and it's been a quite the journey to now being into multifamily and enjoying that. So yeah.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. And I feel like you already came off with a very important tip about real estate investors and entrepreneurs that I just kind of wanted to highlight, is that as we're working, things come up, and it's definitely an environment where we're rolling with the punches and we're working within our circumstances. So that's awesome. I feel like that's awesome. You even started off with a good tip, because it is very true how we just we got to work with what we have and just keep on going, because that's how it is definitely as a real estate investors and entrepreneurs. So I love that you said that. So let's get started with what even got you specific with the real estate, because I feel like what you were just talking about just now is more about probably the property management.
Yep.
But for the real estate, what got you to even think about wanting to buy your first property? Like, what influences did you have around you to make you even get into that frame of mind?
You see all these videos and postings and things about people with real estate, very wealthy people and a lot. And I know I at least found myself wondering, like, how do they do this? And, is this something I could ever participate in? And I started doing a lot of research. I started doing a lot of watching YouTube videos and taking courses and seminars, and it wasn't until a friend did exactly what I was researching and ended up being part of 100 units, 100 separate rental units in the course of a year, owning small pieces of each property, and some of them he owned majority, that I was like, wow, like, if somebody that's an average Joe just like me can do this, then it's definitely something that I want to explore more. And my first building that I participated in, I bought the deal. I managed the deal. I've handled the entire construction process of the deal. And it is true that you can get into real estate with little to no, and in my case, I have no money invested in the deal. I'm a managing partner that handles the day-to-day operations, and I have a good chunk of equity because of that, because somebody else out there, had money and no time, and I had time, and was able to we were able to leverage each other to help each other out. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's also a great point of even just knowing where you stand in the spectrum of real estate, because that's actually a good way of explaining like the two extremes. Like there's so many in the middle too, but it's nice to also know where the ends are.
Yep.
It's like if you have a lot of time but no money, you still are able to do things. And if you have a
Yep.
lot of money, no time, or maybe no interest, maybe your interests are somewhere else, you just have the money and it's important to invest. Those are the extremes of like that in your case where just, okay, perfect, you guys work together. But even there's so many different levels of strategies
Oh
and
yeah.
different ways to work even in between. But that's a great way of explaining it. And so yeah, I thought that was great that you said that, because that's a great way to also show people, because it is, I think the biggest struggle for people is like that. Oh, I'm the average Joe. Like, why would I be able to do something like that? I'm not like a millionaire, billionaire. It's only for them. So it's, and I think that's the point of this show too, is to help people understand, right? We are all average people, but we're all able to use our creativity and figure out how we can get involved as real estate investors in projects.
Yep. And especially if somebody's got an interest in it, that's where it starts. Like if somebody has no interest at all in real estate, then it's probably obviously not for them. But if they're wondering, how can I own a duplex or a triplex or bigger, right? Just something to maybe supplement their income, or they want to eventually grow to have a bigger portfolio. It's definitely something I would highly recommend everybody at least spend the time researching and getting their own information and making their own decision, not just let public perception tell them that they can't do this. Because I never would have thought that I would be into having properties and managing and and yes, I do property management as well, but I mean the managing of an actual day-to-day, just understanding who are the tenants going into my building, those types of things. So and you can be as hands-off as you want, like you mentioned, because there's a lot of people out there that have never stepped inside their own buildings, and they let somebody else manage the tenants relations. So there's every end of the spectrum, and then so many amazing opportunities and options in the middle. So
100%. So now, before you got into real estate, what skills did you have? What were you doing at that time that you were able to bring those skills over to help you get into real estate?
So definitely managing. When I had a job working as a director of franchise development for a national franchise company, I learned a lot. I at the time never realized that the skills I was learning about leases and how to upfit a property so that that tenant can move in and it be to their needs and things like that. Never thought in a million years that I would reuse that information. But when I transitioned over and started looking at multifamily, if you're going to do a BRRRR strategy where you're going to buy it and renovate it and refinance it and all those things, it's very much like a commercial property, because you need to do renovations. You need to be strategic in those renovations. You need to be on budget with those renovations. But the whole goal is to be able to bring a better value to that multifamily property. And then obviously with the refinance, be able to, improve the cash and things like that. So a lot of transferable skills there. A lot of reading, a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of just making sure that I learned as much as I could about what I was going to dive into. And then, just determination, I think, is the biggest thing, because as with any other business or as with any other endeavor that we go into, if you're not ready to put in hard work and stay the course even when you have bad days, it's probably not going to work. And we've had our ups, we've had our downs, we have our hiccups like we did today. And we go with the flow and have fun with it, because if it's not fun, then it's just like any other job. But if it's fun, it's so much more enjoyable to interact with it, right?
100%. And even just when those hard times come, which they will always come, because I mean it is a business, there's the ups and downs, but the fun part of it is a lot more, or that you can handle, and like you said, you can persevere, be persistent on when those hard times come, to just pick up and keep going, because you know that things will be better, or once you fix it, things will improve. Or it's sometimes maybe even that specific deal, you just get out of it because you realize that it's maybe the team that you went into that wasn't good, and it's like, I just need to get out and get on to a different team, or work in a different way, or you really start learning about yourself. And that being said, with the projects that you've worked on, what would you say are things that you learned about either yourself, or like with who you'd want to work with?
Um, you want to work with people that have the same vision, I think, is a big part. If you go into a property, in this case, that you've got two competing ideas or three competing ideas of what the end goal is, that's going to be very frustrating. And I think the biggest thing that I learned from over the last year and a half is, make sure that you have a contractor, and all the trades. Make sure you have a great relationship with those trades, because they can make or break a project. And if you're all talking the same language and going again towards the same goal, it becomes a labor of love. It becomes a fun project to be a part of. And when there are hiccups, because there will be hiccups in every project, it's okay. Let's move on. Let's go. How do we solve this? And let's go. And when everybody's going in the same direction, that makes it a lot easier to correct the hiccup than it is if you've got people going in opposite directions. It's not so fun.
100%. And so what about, for example, like that, because now you're full-time into this, and you're full-time in two things, right? You have your property management business, and then you also do your real estate on the side. So going into full-time, what were the mindset shifts that you went through to get to that point?
From a real estate investing standpoint, or from a property management perspective?
Well, we can start with first, whichever one went first. Probably, I think being an investor started first, right?
Yeah. So real estate investing for sure was the number one, and it will always be my number one priority. And it was because I saw it as an opportunity once I realized it was something I could, as an average Joe, participate in, for me to be able to do something that I really like, which is, deliver change. And, it's so powerful that we can help shape a city. As my goal is not just to have one building, two buildings, three buildings. My goal is to help, direct change in the city I live in, to have, houses that aren't, boarded up and left sitting for years when there's a housing crisis. It's to take buildings that need love and make them look loved again. And that's my driving passion through and through, is be able to do affordable housing projects as I grow in this industry, and be able to give back to my community. And that's what led me to property management, was because frankly, I wasn't impressed with what I was seeing in the market, and I knew there was a better way to, in two forms, help look after the tenant, because I feel we have a responsibility as landlords that this is somebody's life. But on the same note, it's also a business, and there has to be a win-win on both sides. And wanting to be able to help investors like myself that might not be in city to have an investor-focused property manager that I don't bring things to them that I wouldn't ever do it if it was my own building. That I wouldn't suggest if it was my own building. So that's kind of how I kind of fell into the property management thing, and it's really become an awesome you know life of its own. I've got a team of people that helps me with that, because again, my focus is still real estate investing. And then that went one step further. I went out and last fall I got my real estate license because I had so many investors reaching out to me saying, hey, can you go look at my property, or can you go look at this property that I'm about to buy, that I want to buy? Give me your opinion. And I'm like, well, I might as well be there to service the whole thing. If somebody needs help with an investment property to buy or sell, I'm here. If they want help to manage that property, great. And if they're looking for a partner, or then on the real estate investing side of things. So I try to be as vertically integrated as I can, and be able to help in whichever capacity that I can here in the city.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. And so how has it been, so with juggling the personal life, the family life, and getting something like this started? Because especially like going into full time, I think that's a very scary thing to go through, and build up that confidence, and even making sure the family dynamic is okay. Like, how did you juggle that, or like what kind of things did you start learning from that to help balance things out for you?
Well, I've been self-employed since June of 2017. Went through self-employment through COVID. Moved my family back from Ontario to St. John, New Brunswick in the middle of COVID. That was the biggest online purchase I've ever made because you couldn't come here without 2 weeks of quarantine and having to have a residence for 30 days. So we ended up buying our house over a cell phone with friends running around showing us properties. It's always been, as an entrepreneur, the beautiful thing about being an entrepreneur is the fact that you can make your own schedule, and obviously that's easy to say, and there's a lot more complexity to it than that. But the good thing is that when I need to take time off, I can take time off, and when I need to be there for my family and for my wife, and keep things alive. My wife and I go on date nights on a consistent basis just to unwind and talk about things. And I'm honored to be coming up now on 19 years together this July. And it's about making the priorities priority when they need to be, and then fitting what you love in around it. And that's why yes, don't get me wrong, there's some long days, but
so what are the kind of struggles that you felt like that getting the businesses up and running, and getting in and being in full-time real estate? What were the kind of struggles that you went through?
The learning curve, for sure. There was some struggles there because there's a lot there's things to learn, right? How to underwrite a property to make sure that it's worth pursuing. And I when I started out, I actually walked in my first 8-9 months of deciding, okay, I'm doing real estate investing. I walked almost 200 properties. And then a lot of those get crossed off because of the condition that they're in, and the just you learn how to do the basic numbers in your head, but there's also a lot of them that we underwrote, and then you start to learn, okay, like based on X, Y, and Z, this doesn't make sense to move forward with, and you can get faster at throwing away the ones that aren't worth it. And then I think the next biggest thing was, with the learning curve was just getting good at determining if something was worth pursuing. Again, that comes from experience. And then the time management was another big thing. It's it's a very different, like I'm someone that just likes to get stuff done, right? With real estate, sometimes you gotta put the brakes on, and you've gotta, go with however the timeline is for the city, or whatever the timeline is for, back ordered materials, or whatever it happens to be. So that was a huge learning component for me. Just learning how to put the brakes on, and be patient, but also not, you know, just take it for everybody's word for it. Sometimes you also need to go, like, do we really need to take that long, and maybe push a little bit to get things done. So yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, those are all great points. And I wanted to specifically, especially for new investors, exactly what you're saying, like you walked 200 properties. That's very normal. Analyzing, I know there was back before when I was getting started, you would say like you want to analyze 100 properties. And I feel like most of the people actually struggle to make it to that part,
Yep.
but it's like a very good thing to do because it just, for example, like you're walking the properties, you may be talking to different realtors and they may tell you different things that you start learning about, or same thing, or you start learning about different problems if you're looking at different types of properties and you start seeing the different kind of issues different properties have or whatever that is. So and I feel like a lot of investors really get stuck on that part and hate that part, but it's kind of like the rite of passage to say, right? It's like, just get it
Yeah.
done, do it. You learn so much already at that stage, and it just gives you that another kind of bit of confidence when you are, because it also just learn what it is that you really want, to be honest. As you start looking at things, you start also kind of just understanding what it is that you do want to buy. Because at the beginning, I feel like I feel like shiny diamond syndrome is a thing. It's like you just want to do everything that there is possible because you just like get so excited.
Yeah.
Did you have that? Did you get that experience of like that shiny diamond syndrome where you just wanted to buy every single property?
Yeah, and for sure, because at least for me, when I first started, it was, if it's up for sale, then there's got to be a possibility that this is a good deal, right? And the thing we've definitely seen in the last 18 months is the market has changed, right? And interest rates have gone from really, really good to holy smokes to there's a little bit coming back down. And that changes the whole dynamic of what you might want to invest in. And I personally, like, I'm working with an investor right now, an investor right now that his entire portfolio is 5 units and under. He
Mhm.
flourishes with owning 2s, 3s, 4 unit buildings and 5 unit buildings, and he owns 5,000 properties around the world. Like,
Oh,
and it's like just learning from him, getting introduced to him, and learning from him about, like, I never would have thought the way he thinks. Like, I thought you had, oh no, you got to have 6 units and above. And yes, don't get me wrong. And for those that are brand new to real estate, you probably have no clue why we have that differential between 6 units or 5 units and below. But it's a great thing to learn. But
mhm.
I was so stuck on, I had to be 6 units. It had to be 7, 10, 20, however big we could go. And yes, those are great. But they're also the types of deals that you're going to spend a long time usually on. Like, the bigger the deal, the more due diligence, the more time it needs to be invested, and things like that. And I like them all. I do, but I do think my sweet spot is around that 5-6 unit range, because you can really take a building from, a seriously underperforming building and turn it into something tremendous. And it's got kind of like that mid-range of risk versus reward. And not to say I still underwrite large deals as they come across. Like, actually, I'm going to look at a 10-unit building this afternoon. But or sorry, a 12-unit building this afternoon. But unless there is someone that has just completely not looked after the building, usually these buildings are, they're going to cost more. And again, there's more due diligence needed and more time that you're going to invest in that property before you actually close on it. So there's risk and reward with everyone. And that's why when I started, I underwrote everything that it came across that I could find, because I wanted to understand what the difference between a duplex, a 5 unit, or a 10 or a 20 was. And I underwrote deals from, Victoria, British Columbia to St. John's, Newfoundland, even though I'm here in St. John, New Brunswick, and just to understand the different markets. And I quickly realized that there was enough opportunity here in St. John for me to be able to not need to, go look for something that's 5 hours away. So that's what allowed me the opportunity to walk so many properties, because there was just so many properties available for opportunity to do something with.
That's amazing. That's great to hear. And it's great that you even saw the importance of, or the benefits of this person, where you do see how different people's mentalities are. And especially people that are much bigger than us, have much more experience in these areas, because their minds are completely different to ours, and the way they think. And I mean, when you have that opportunity to talk to these kind of people, it's really fun to like pick at their brain, because their views, they're like looking at things in a completely different lens than we are. And so it can be definitely very eye-opening. And same thing, like you said, like it could be a strategy that you're like, you know what, I want to actually do that strategy because that makes sense. What they're saying, how it works, totally makes sense to
Yep.
me. So it's amazing that you had that opportunity, or you have that opportunity to be able to work with someone like that, because it's definitely very beneficial for sure to get to learn their mindsets. Because can you imagine how billionaires must think? Like I always think, like I can't imagine what like millionaires, multimillionaires and billionaires think like, because I'm like, because me going from from an employee to an entrepreneur, that was quite like that was quite a mind shift for me, and a huge change for me mentally that I loved. It was so different. It's a very different world from the employee to entrepreneur, and it's something that I personally really enjoyed. And I just think like, I can't imagine how people above me think, because like that, like if my shift just from an employee to entrepreneur was so drastic for me, I can't imagine the worlds that they live in.
Yep. And I think back to, like, I can see the turning points in my life where I upgraded my thinking. And 2015 into early 2016 was one of those times. And that's when I really got into, reading the right things and listening to the right things. And turned to even today, my vehicle, more times than not, I've got an audiobook on than I have the radio on. And um, you know, I talk to people now, and I catch myself like going like, why do they think like that? And I'm like, wait a second, I used to think like that, and it took someone in my life, kind of shocking me, I think is the best word to say, to make me go, whoa, like there's a different way of thinking. And that's everything from, obviously real estate. We're talking about more about real estate, but I would have never went on my own and had the courage to become self-employed if I hadn't had a shift in my mentality. And I
Would you
wouldn't
like to
have.
share that story of like what
Sure.
was the shift? What pivoted you to make that shift?
Well, so I've always been, yeah, I look back and I can say this now, but I've always been an entrepreneur. I've always, when I was an employee, I was still looking at things from, if I do this, will it benefit? And at that time, will it benefit my employer? Will it benefit the franchisees that I was working with as my career changed? And, um, didn't even realize that really and truly I was essentially being an entrepreneur, but employed entrepreneur. And the shift for me was a company that I thought I would retire in, late 2015. The owner decided to sell. And we went from rah, 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 power team 1 month to, by the way, I'm selling 30 days later. And it was a great again, looking back, I did not have the right mindset at the time. It was all about me. It was so, here I am, this is a personal attack on me and everything else. And, through personal development and, looking into myself, and I realized that he had built something from the ground up, that he had the opportunity to turn that into something greater, and we all would hope to do that. And that shift into being I moved into another job that I quickly, instead of it taking me 7 years, it took 7 months, and I was like, I can't do this. Like, I can't go through that. I am somebody else. At the end of the day, I have no control over my future. I have no control over vacations. Everything has to be approved, and I can never earn what I feel I'm worth. And Nick, it doesn't matter how many hours I put in. And as an employee, I was a guy that put in 60, 70 hours sometimes. Actually, the job that I was in late 2015, I was traveling 42 weeks of the year. And, I said, if I'm going to do this, I might as well do it for myself. And, continuing to grow, continuing to read, The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks was probably one of the biggest books that just flipped my mind on its, like, holy smokes, because realizing that I was the only person that could limit me from achievement, that was huge. I always thought there was, the way I was brought up, or the way, the things that I went through in my life, I could not level up. And it was so far from the truth. And, I've met, since I opened my mind, more entrepreneurs than not that I've met came from the worst upbringings you could imagine, and they're unbelievable. And so it's just, continuing to read books and listen to my peers, and, realizing that if I'm the most forward-thinking person in the room, I'm in the wrong room. I need to find other people to test my way of thinking, and if I get complacent in something, then I know I definitely need to start looking for stuff. So, and Aaron's asking the name of the book. It's called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. And then, I'm sure if there's other entrepreneurs that are watching this, we've all gone through the, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and, Think and Grow Rich. And, those are, don't get me wrong, they're awesome books. They were my first books that got that process started. But then as your mind starts to level up, it's just been wow. And one other big thing I think in the last 2 years has been doing masterminds, coming together, and then they happen to be real estate in related now, but just bringing like-minded, awesome people together and getting to know each other and figuring out how to solve and come up with solutions for what I might think right now is a huge obstacle, and yet somebody else in the room is like, oh, I did that, and here's how I did it. And we come out of that with so much more knowledge than you could imagine. Clarity. And it's just been awesome.
Yeah, I love that. You've shared so much information that I kind of wanted to recap, because one of the things that you said was, it is true, a lot of us will get into these points that thinking that it's our outside environment that controls us. And we start realizing, like you said, that we're making the excuses in our minds why it is that we're not doing what it is, and using that as the leverage is why we won't be going anywhere, why we shouldn't be going anywhere. So it's awesome that you said that, because it is true. Once you start getting into personal development, you open to the doors of realizing I can do whatever I want, and it's really up to me to decide to what level I want to do it. And if I want to maintain a specific excuse that makes me feel better, that is fully 100% my decision. And if I want to release that excuse, again, that's fully 100% my decision to release the excuses that I have. So I think that's awesome that you shared that, because that is a lot of the reasons once we start getting into things, or like that, like you said, you were always an entrepreneur but didn't realize it. And then it was just, certain things start coming into play that open up your mind to realizing that, why can't I be one instead of acting one, let's say, in someone else's business? Because that is true, actually. I was reading a book specifically about softwares or like bringing in products to like the public, and it actually spoke about that too, where it's like, so I just found that very interesting that you said that. And so with all that, and now where you are right now, what changes are you making in yourself right now to get to that 5, 10 year, those nice big, big goals that you want to get to? What are the changes you're making right now?
Um, don't be complacent. It's very easy to fall into a routine that you're comfortable with. And frankly, from the time we moved, from just before we moved from Ottawa to St. John until, um, mid 2021, so almost like 9 months, I was very comfortable and bored out of my tree. So that's one thing, is if I find myself getting, um, you know, not focused, I know that it's time to 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 double down on it. Either learn more about that, or
Level
how to
up.
grow it, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
the number two, the biggest thing I think is just be around better people, right? Like, if I want to be a top-notch real estate investor that can affect change in my city, then I need to find people wherever they are in the world that have already done it and learn from them. And sometimes it takes sacrifice. Like, I've traveled, all over North America to meet people and being part of masterminds and things like that. But I've also been very close where, I drive, 30 minutes to a networking meeting, and you're talking with people that, again, are already a couple of steps ahead of you, or have already done what you're looking to do. And just learn, and always be growing, always be learning. I think it's so important.
100%. And I love that you said that about the masterminds, because it's so true. When you're around people that are thinking big, that are growing big, I mean, we all get influenced by that. So if you're around those people, you start getting yourself in those situations to where you're just like, oh man, they're doing that. I want to do that, or I want to do this, whatever it is that your strategy is, but you start wanting to also level up when you're seeing people level up. But I'm curious, actually, now that you're talking about the masterminds, but because a lot of us will also have to reduce, let's say, the amount, like the friends that we see, and we're making new friends. Was that ever for you difficult or struggle to change your friends, or like change even the dynamic within the friendships or the families? Did you ever go through that type of thing?
Yeah. There's people that I will probably never have a conversation with ever again, that I, grew up with, and some people that I did business with. And there's other people that I still love them to death. Some of them happen to share my last name, and some of them share my blood, that I will always love them. But I have to reserve my mentality with the interaction sometimes, so that I can continue to move forward. And then, there's other people that, I just, people I never thought I'd meet, have become some of the best friends I ever have, that I can call on at any time, because we think the same way, we value the same things. And, your circumstances will definitely, sometimes put blinders on you. That I found for sure. Like, I grew up on welfare. It was a rough childhood. My mom was very ill, and I had a boss when I was 17 years old that said, you know what, like, you can be a welfare bum, or you can go out and do anything you want. And that was again, I talk about turning points in my life, that I'm like, holy smokes, that literally propelled me to the next thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I could have been another statistic of growing up on welfare and having a bunch of kids and just working jobs and drying EI all winter and you know what, for people that that's their circumstances, that's fine, and so be it. But I knew I wanted more, and sometimes you have to let go of some of the people that aren't ready to want more to be able to take the next step to being the greatness that you feel that you can be. And I'm still human. I still have days that I let my mind slip backwards and forget that I am a powerful person that can make anything happen. And then I have days where it's like, you know what, okay, let's go, let's move forward, right? So it's just a part of being human, and all I think I've said this like 10 times, but always be learning and always be growing, and you will find people that think like you want to think, and value the same things you value, and then surround yourself with as many of those types of people as you can.
Hmm. And something I feel like you're alluding to is even feeling worthy of being able to be around those people. Because I think like that when if you're in a low level of your life where things aren't good, you feel like, I feel a lot of the times you think like, oh, I'm not good enough to talk to these kind of people or those kind of people. So I guess us letting you guys know, feel free to talk to
Okay.
us, talk to the communities. You can ask us which communities we're a part of. We are a part of free ones. We are part of, as you said, like some that are very expensive too. But there's so many different levels, and it's good to just get in there, get comfortable with it, and maybe even start as a spectator or something. But do you have any tips that you would like to give the viewers related to, when you're feeling down? Because as you said, everyone has we all have our low moments where we'll be like, for example, like, oh, we're going to be good at reading every day or doing our exercise or whatever. And even something small like that will just fall off the radar, and maybe it stops for a while because we just start going into the grind or things. Do you have any tips that you have experienced that work for you to kind of help you get back up?
Um, so I've got a business coach right now that um, really, again, just I have a business coach because I need somebody to challenge me to not fall into ruts. And one of the things that he gave me that I've only started doing like in the last 3-4 months is I got a whiteboard, and I write at the end of every day, I write down all of the things, regardless of how small it is, to um, what the accomplishments that I did. So, it started off with, I brushed my teeth, right?
Mm-hmm.
I made my bed. I drank 4 liters of water, whatever, right? And then you start to because I wouldn't at the beginning, I wouldn't acknowledge the fact that, hey, you know what? Like, you just went through a refi on a property, and it's pretty awesome, right? Or, hey, you've got X, Y, and Z, happening on a project, or everything under the sun, right? So you met another entrepreneur that could lead the business, like all these little positive things. And when I have days where I would rather be crawled up in the fetal position, because we all do. Before, it would take me sometimes 2-3 days to come out of that mentality. I go to that positive, and I look at the positive, and I will read and I'm more of an audiobook person, but I will go and I will listen to passages that moved me from past books that I've read. And what used to take me sometimes days, it became, hours, or a day, and then became hours. And, now, if I get hit with something, it's hopefully usually only going to be a couple of minutes, and I'm bouncing back. And it all starts with just being, wanting to be better, wanting to have to be better for yourself, your family, whatever it happens to be the best of yourself. And finding something that anchors you to remember that this is what you're working towards. That's at least for me.
100%. No, I love everything that you said, especially, which is very true for everyone like that, not even entrepreneurs or real estate investors, but this is everyone. For some reason, we forget about being excited and happy about what we've accomplished. And I don't know, sometimes we get into the mode of the problems that have happened and bringing ourselves down to it. And I think that is a very, very good tip that you said, that go back and just focus on the things that you, and like that, like sometimes you start with the little things, like you said, like brushing your teeth, getting ready for the day, whatever it is, the little things. Because as you start writing those little things down, all of a sudden the bigger things start coming in. That you're all of a sudden your mind's like, oh no, but wait about this. What about that? And you're like, oh yeah, that's true. And you just you start realizing the amazing things that you've done. And so I thought that was a really great tip. And one that you were basically alluding to also was the mentor.
Yeah.
Having someone there is so pivotal because, like you said, like we all go through our downs, and sometimes a mentor's right there, but even the community, if you don't have a mentor, but having a community or a group of friends around you, these types of things are so pivotal to being able to continue moving forward. Because sometimes we do need that pick me up, be it from family, friends, like that, our communities, mentors. Mentors is their job, so like they definitely will rein you in, and make sure that you get it up, and they'll do whatever they can for you to make sure you get up. But I thought that was also a very, very amazing point that you said, because like that, we all go through our ups and downs. Even our mentors go through their ups and downs. I'm sure our mentors have mentors for them. Everyone has their support systems, and we have to take advantage of them when we definitely need them. It's not about the solo struggle. We are definitely community people, and we need to work together and help each other out in whatever capacity. It doesn't have to be partnerships. A lot of people, like we said, like a lot of people in the communities you become very good friends with, you haven't even done business with them, and they still support you in certain different capacities.
Yep. Definitely. And I think one big thing that is pay it forward. Like that to me is a huge thing as well, because if I'm looking to have mentorship or coaching, whatever you want to call it, from someone that's already doing what I want to do or achieved what I want to achieve, that means that either sometimes there's going to be obviously that you're paying for that coaching and training and mentorship, but also there's sometimes that is just, somebody is paying it forward and giving you some guidance and coaching so that you don't make the same mistakes or have the same challenges that they did. And that's a huge thing for me is, recently someone I have a great deal of respect for reminded me, like, we make decisions from two places, either love or fear. And if we choose love will stamp out fear every single time. And by always thinking from a place of love and how can I be more and help more, I find it just comes circled tenfold. And that's why, like, if somebody I've got people that come and ask me questions about, they're maybe not simple thing, like they don't understand the underwriting process on a real estate deal. They're just not getting that information. And I love it. Like, I must be one of the weird ones, but I actually love underwriting deals. And so because I love it, for me, it becomes easy. So, being able to help pass some of my love for that on to make it easier for someone else is a simple little thing that I can spend 10 or 15 minutes to help someone, that if that then leads them to be able to find a real estate deal that they can transform their life with, that's huge. Like, it's massive. So, we can do we have so much unbelievable potential as a human race that is so untapped. And, doing things like this, like this Instagram live, like talking about these types of things, because I don't think we talk about this stuff enough, that's why, like, when we talked about doing this, I'm on board, like, because If anybody gets anything out of this conversation today, then we've done an amazing thing here. So it's, be positive and try to be around positive people, and realize that you can make your life whatever you want it to be. And sometimes it's going to be hard work, but you can do whatever you want to do.
Mm-hmm. Love it. And especially like, because you were saying this before, when you have, basically you were saying when you have that purpose and you really know what you want, it just energizes you. And like that, even with those hard times, it will pass through very much easier than if it's something that you're not interested in doing. Because you have that purpose, you have that reason for why you want to do what you do. And another thing I wanted to also just say was that, I just lost my train of thought. What was the other thing? You said something that I wanted to, it'll come back to me. But
Okay.
any other final comments that you would like to tell our viewers, or any mindset shifts that were huge that you wanted to share?
Just read or listen. For me to sit down and read a book, in all honesty, like it, I do from time to time, but I'm an audio person. So, a mentor of mine once said to me that if you can memorize the lyrics of a song that will make somebody else millions of dollars, then the least you can do is go and read something that will change your mind. And if you're listening to it the same as you would listen to music, I have times where I have to literally listen to the same chapter 3 times because I'm picking up bits and pieces because I'm driving or I'm sitting at home listening to it or whatever it happens to be. But when you catch something that your mind goes, whoa, what was that?
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason why you're listening to it, or that's the reason why you're reading it, is because you needed that shift. And just read and read and read. There's so many books out there. There's so many, ask people that you look up to or that you would like to, be doing what they do, or have the wins that they have. Ask them what they've read. Ask them what they've listened to. And, the biggest form of flattery is to copy. So do what others are doing that you want to achieve.
100%. And that being said, did you always love reading?
No, like honestly, probably. Hopefully, there's nobody in high school listening to this. When I got out of high school till 2016, so 16 years. Okay, I could count on one hand how many books or audio tapes that I listened to. Okay, and it wasn't until I made a decision that I wanted to change where I was going, and I saw the people that were doing what I wanted to achieve, and I said, what are you doing? And they were like, well, we read books and we journal, and I'll be very honest, I don't like journaling, but I like audio journaling because I can just spew out whatever my brain is thinking, and instead of me trying to write down, when I can't write as fast as my brain is usually thinking, right? So you find the thing that works for you, and yeah, just have fun with it.
I love it. That's a good tip. And another thing though, it also comes down to the purpose though. Like you found something, because I feel like reading will never happen, or doing even real estate will never happen until you have that fundamental reason behind why those things will help you.
Yep.
And there's usually that big thing, whatever it is, that big purpose, that something there that just moves you, energizes you to actually want to pick up the book or listen to the audios or practice gratitude in whichever way. So I thought that was great that you said that, because it is like you need that purpose will move you to get to do those things. Because I was the same. I could tell you I'm the same. To tell you that I would, at high school, and I had to read a book, I would watch the video. I'd go to the library, watch the video, And I'd probably just read the first. I hope I'm not giving like kids advice on how to do this, but I'd read like the first chapter and the last chapter, and then
Yep.
watch the video, and I usually get like a
Yep.
good handle of what's going on.
Yep.
And that was my extent of reading. I did not enjoy reading. Same thing as you. Did not enjoy it at all. But once I understood why I was doing this, why I wanted to improve myself as a person, or just the curiosity of changing myself, like now, like you said, like now that I try to make excuses for life, and I want to grow and develop who I am, that excites me. And that's like, it's like, who can I make, like what can I make Diana do, like what is this, like what new things can I learn, how can I become a better person, improve myself. And so for me, it was like the curiosity of things, and the ability to change myself was so interesting to me that I was like, oh my God, I need to read books, because I specifically like that. Like I just love reading personal development books. Anything that's motivational, I'm all over it.
Yep. And one thing to that I will say, right, is because I think, and I think we can both agree on, is it's great to read the books, but if you don't, then, and this is where the having the motivation of why you start, if you don't take action on the things that your brain is now growing with, then you're just having a great read or a great listen. And I've been there. I've had, listen, I think I read Think and Grow Rich probably 4 times before I actually truly took action on what the message of that book is. And Rich Dad Poor Dad, I've probably read that since 2016, or I should say listened to it. Well, that's one of my go-tos, right? So I probably listened to some parts 100 times, and it's just, that's another reason why I love audiobooks, is I can bookmark things that I want to go back to. And I've read Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. Like that was like, my brain exploded. It was I honestly felt like the book was written for me. Like that's how much that book moved me. But again, there's been times where I read How to Win Friends and Influence People. Everybody talks about that in circles. But that book, if you do not take that and start to implement that into your life, it just was a good read. So books are great, audio tapes, whatever they happen to be, but just like any other course or training that you do in your life, if you don't take it and use it to grow or become something better, then it was a great read, listen, or course that you've taken. And human nature is to stay comfortable. So make sure that when you're reading these things that, maybe you're have an accountability partner, or, and if as things grow in your life, maybe you have a business coach that can challenge you, or just a friend that can kick your butt when you're, become saying foolish things like, oh, I'm not good enough, or, this, what did I do? And well, you know what? Like, you are good enough. Go do it. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much for all the advice you've given. If you guys love what you heard from Anson, definitely follow him. I'll be tagging him this. You'll be able to follow him and see what he's up to these days. And if you love if you love my shows, then definitely like it and follow me too. Thank you so much, Anson, for coming on. It was so much fun to chat with you.
Nice chatting with you too. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Bye, everyone. We'll see everyone in the next episode. Bye.